So, I've been reading through a lot of the comments on that recent conversation about how Africans and those of us whose families have been in the US for generations are often compared when it comes to outcomes. And I'll be honest, I started seeing something underneath all of that I hadn't been fully aware of before. I can feel it when a conversation stops being about the topic and starts being about identity. When people aren't just responding to what was said, they're responding to what it represents. And instead of pivoting to the next topic, I truly owe this moment more than that. What stood out wasn't just what people were saying about the conversation, it was what people were saying to each other. Threads inside threads. People who moved to the US from different African countries going back and forth with people whose families have been in the US for generations. Don't reduce what we've built to luck. Don't erase the discipline. Don't erase our sacrifice. I also saw individuals saying, I didn't come from wealth. I didn't land here with money waiting for me. I started from scratch. Because while immigration systems may be selective at scale, the people moving through them come from different countries, different class backgrounds, and different starting points. Patterns exist, but I will also admit, so do individual journeys. At the same time, I saw people from our community saying, don't erase what this country has done to our families. We're not just struggle. We're not just statistics. We've built, we've excelled, we've led. That is real. And if I'm honest, I understand why some people felt like the excellence inside our own communities wasn't fully highlighted. My bad. So let me say this plainly. The strength inside communities whose families have been in the US for generations is not theoretical to me, obviously. I've seen single mothers, including my own, working full-time, raising children, and still earning degrees. Bachelors, masters, refusing to cap their own ceiling. I've seen women turn side hustles into real businesses, turn beauty chairs into enterprises that fund families. I've seen men navigating systems that weren't even built for them, and still finding leadership. I've seen first-generation graduates shift the trajectory of their entire family. That kind of elevation is real. It deserves to be acknowledged without hesitation. I also saw people who moved here from across the continent recognizing something equally important, that people whose families have been in the US for generations fought battles that reshaped the country. Legal shifts, cultural shifts, doors opened that didn't just benefit one group, but altered the environment for many. And that awareness matters too. So what showed up wasn't simply division. It was layers, pride, protection, assertion, respect, frustration, unity. And underneath it all was care. Because people don't push back like that unless it matters. That kind of energy only shows up when something feels personal. And today, of all days, it feels even more relevant. We just lost Reverend Jesse Jackson, someone I had the pleasure of meeting years ago. A man who spent decades pushing the idea that different communities don't get stronger by competing with each other, but by building coalitions. Unity as leverage. Now, let me zoom out. Part of why this conversation resonates with me has to do with how I move through the world. I've lived in multiple countries. I've been in rooms where I'm clearly the minority. I've watched people leave their home country, including myself, and expand their worldview. I've seen people who grew up in the US step outside of it and recalibrate how they see race and identity. Even here in Central Europe, I've connected with others navigating life outside the US. We compare notes. We build communities in unfamiliar spaces. Movement changes perspective. Exposure reshapes assumptions. It makes you realize how much of our debates are shaped by where we stand. There are a lot of labels we use. Pan-African, FBA, diasporan, and there are spaces for those conversations. I'm someone whose family has been in the US for generations. I'm part of the diaspora. And at the core of it all, I'm a humanist. I treat people with respect that treat me with respect. I try to see individuals first, even when identity is loud. So if labels matter that much, if someone needs to pin one on me personally, call me a diaspora humanist. It's how I already move. So I've been sitting like that, reading, thinking, listening. And honestly, this is part of why I built out spaces like Diaspora pages for longer conversations in the first place. Now, here's the bigger question. If the goal is power, security, generational advancement, whether in the US or on the continent of Africa or anywhere our people are trying to build something, does competing with each other get us any closer? Does internal rivalry strengthen institutions? Does it increase ownership? Does it build leverage? Or does it just redirect energy sideways? I'm not dismissing identity. Lineage matters. History matters. Reparations conversations matter. Specificity matters. But how does turning on each other move any of that forward in a tangible way? Unless I'm missing something. Unless there's a version of this where friction becomes fuel instead of distraction. Because where I stand, the part I can't accept is this: that we would choose to spend our energy proving to each other instead of building with each other. I am so not interested in that version of us.